Hello, everybody, and welcome to KBRN. And tonight is round number 8 for the OSCA Truck Series. And tonight we're here at the Irish Hills of Michigan at the Michigan International Speedway for the Shane DiMantova Does Design 100 at Michigan. And again, this is round number 8, and you're joined here live tonight for the OSCA Series with your host here, myself, Mike Goodman, and along with me is Kenneth Bueno. And Kenneth, we've had a few, a lot of short tracks in the previous schedule. We even had, last week. I'm blanking where we were at last week. Was it Kansas? Gateway, yes, there you go. I was blanking there for a minute, but now we're here at Michigan, so it's going to open it up quite a bit, and we're more than likely able to see some 3, maybe even 4 wide racing here tonight.
Yeah, Mike, and really things open up, especially when you come off of a short track, and that's really a thing that I think comes with a lot of schedules when leagues decide to make them. Sometimes you juxtapose a very short track where things are very limited, the space is also smaller, everything gets narrower, and then you just blow things wide open at a place like Michigan or at even places like Auto Club Speedway. And here the speeds are high, the draft and the package is going to be a lot of fun to watch, considering the fact that these trucks are going to be fairly bunched in together and how quick they'll be, mostly full throttle through the early ones. So I mean, going from a short track, going from some of those tensions, moving on to just high-speed action, it's definitely going to be a lot of fun under the sun here today.
Yeah, it should be, and we can take a look here at Michigan International Speedway, and the track that's nestled in the Irish Hills of Brooklyn, Michigan. The track is 2 miles in length, banking 18 degrees in the turns, 12 degrees on the straightaway, 5 degrees in the backstretch, and is opened back in October 13th, 1968. And it's led to some high flying, wide open, high speed action, 3-4 wide racing. And tonight, Kenneth, we have for the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100, we have 2 halves. The first half, both halves will be 25 laps. The top 5 will invert from heat number 1 to the second half. And but the first half will be a 1 p.m. start time, and the second half will be a 4 p.m. start time. And what I gotta say there too, I'm thinking the way this will work is the track might get a little bit more sun, maybe get a little bit slicker in that second half.
Yeah, and this is probably what I think reminiscent of what we saw last week at Gateway, where both of them were under the daytime. Of course, Michigan International Speedway does not have lights, so we're not going to be under any sort of sunset or any nighttime racing here at this very racetrack. However, though, I think you pointed well that it could potentially make the trucks a little bit more slicker. I think as we move on through the afternoon, I think about 1 p.m. it'll be the hottest. I think that's where the drivers will have to fight their trucks a little bit more in terms of trying to get grip. Remember, they're about almost full throttle all the way around this racetrack, but if we get long runs, tire wear certainly does kick in, so you do have to lay off the throttle a little bit, and it could potentially make the trucks very loose in the midst of dirty air. And I think 4 p.m. probably be a little bit better, some extra grip, but I think we're still faring to see various different challenges under the tires, and especially with the track temperature that we'll have.
Yeah, it should be very interesting indeed. Let's see what they handle with tonight. But upcoming schedule, again, tonight we're here at Michigan. Next week we head to the Bull Ring of Bristol. So going from one of the bigger tracks we race on to one of the smaller ones at Bristol. And race number 10, we go to Las Vegas, and then we start the playoffs going to Phoenix and Texas, and then rounding out the season at Kentucky. But with that, we'll see who's shaping up to who's looking like they're going to be in line for a playoff spot. We'll check out our point standings here, and Gerald Campbell holding on to the lead. He's been kind of the consistent one so far. Vincent Isabella was still within arm's reach, and you check out the rest of the top 10 as shown on your screen. And I think, as far as, the regular season's concerns, Gerald does have a lockdown on it, but certainly these guys have been jockeying to get in those playoffs and maybe making a good run on Gerald.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's a 21-point spread between you. You just saw it right there, Gerald Campbell to the second-place driver and Vincent Isabella right behind him. So there is a good amount of cushion. But what I'm looking at is drivers in the middle of the top 10. Drivers who are still looking for the final playoff spot. They're about 100 points spread between 1st and 10th in the point standing. So it's a very large gap. And it could very well play in some drivers' favor. Maybe they like their backs against the wall. Maybe they can think that these last 3 tracks before we get to the playoffs are the beneficiary for them, which could possibly put them in a better position to get into that playoffs. But I think if you really want to rally a run, Mike, if you really want to get into the playoffs, you really have to start tonight because things are starting to inch down and time is at least starting to run out for the most part.
Yeah, you got to get in the last couple of races here of the regular season, indeed, and get those wins if you're currently not in that playoff spot. And there'll be plenty of opportunities here tonight. And this is where we can maybe even see different strategies here tonight. Of course, we do have the 10-minute caution clock that we normally have here in the OSCA Truck Series, so that could play a big factor in each heat. And we could also see two tires, 4 tires. Maybe no tires that might work, depending on how this plays out. But with this sort of track, maybe like last week at Gateway, I think we seen general consensus was you were going to take 4 tires, and I think maybe tonight we might see some various strategies. Should be interesting.
Definitely should be, but you see right there, the field is lined up behind the iRacing official pace car, so it'll be our time to now get to the starting grid. We're getting very close to green flag action here very soon.
Yeah, we'll check out the starting lineup for the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100, and on the pole is Richard Mandonka in the 46 truck, and starting alongside is Dennis Weeks in the 91.
Followed to row 2, Abigail Winters in the 66 makes the first start and hitting the 66 truck, and the 96 of Adam Tepe will follow along on the outside of row number 2.
And in row number 3, it's the short track kid of Austin Beer starting in 3rd. And starting alongside him is the young gun, Gabriel Edwards.
Blake Barney in the 00 will line up from the 7th spot, and 2nd place points driver Vincent Isabella for ID Racing in the 42. He will be looking on the outside in the 8th spot.
And starting in row number 5 in the 18 truck is going to be Kellen Belsha. And starting alongside of him is the 90 truck of Johnny Eckert. He's going to look to be going up towards the front.
Behind them, you'll find the 71 of David Carpenter to the inside of row number 6, and Matthew Weeks in the 11 also will start alongside.
Row number 7 starting in 13th is going to be Chris Jordan, and Nicholas Monticelli will start alongside him in the 14th spot.
Then back to row number 8, the 32 of Josh Duke returns for competition. He lines up the top 15, and to his outside will be the 75 of Dylan Gooden.
Now back in row number 9, the 24 truck of Steven Schumann will start 17th, and Chris Ryan in the 80 truck will be starting in the 18th spot.
Dustin Dewar will be lined up 19th, and rounding out the top 20 will be the 03 of Charlie Kuzma.
And in row number 11 will be Harrison Talion, and alongside him will be Glenn Budren Jr.
Behind them to row 12, you'll find David Westergreen in 23rd and Tanner Brooks in 24th before you line up the final driver who did take time, Kyle Walgren, in the 64 machine. So we're about to go green here, but line up the entire grid. Mendonça and the 91 of Weeks are ready to lead us down.
Yeah, and here we go. The pace car is off, and they're ready to go. Mendoza is taking the green. He's going to get a good jump here. We're going green flag racing here in the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100 here at Michigan. And starting off, it looks like Mandonka is going to take a pretty good lead going into turn number 1, and there's still about double file right behind him. As, wow, clean air. So looks like so far, Kenneth, it's paying off for Mandonka.
And we saw Mendonça in the 46 take advantage and dominate the Kansas race earlier this season. So if he knows anything about taking the pole and walking up front, that 46 surely is a driver to do that. But you're seeing already, I mentioned the pack racing, see a couple drivers already swerving out of the way, almost 3 wide. But Adam Tepe heads to the outside. I believe he may have spun around, and indeed he is. Caution flag waves, big crash behind them.
Oh, man, it looked like he was almost going to get with too much heavy contact, and I believe it was the 71 truck of David Carpenter that got right in the back end of Adam Tepe, and it looks like there's going to be a couple cars going to pit road to get some heavy damage repaired. And it kind of looked like Kenneth will take a look at the replay here. Just got a little loose and went around. Yeah, and David, oh, just clipped him, and it looked like Carpenter got into a couple other guys after he got made that contact with Tepe. Take a look here. Oh, the 4 truck, I believe that was Chris Jordan, and I couldn't see the 03. That is Charlie Kuzma. They got some heavy damage, and it looks like they'll have to go to pit road to get some repairs done. But what a tough start early on here in this race. In half number 1, we're on lap number 2 of 25.
And I said it there, Mike, the cold tires early on, pack racing, and especially since the first race of 25 laps is under the 1 p.m. sim start time, it's going to be hotter. And as a result, the trucks do get very slick, and even then, you can easily step it out and try to save it for the most part. As you see, that's exactly what happened to the 96. Just tried to get off turn 4, washed up the track just a little bit, but the truck unsettled and had to really try and save it, but end up spinning around and unfortunately getting a lot of others collected. That's the thing that happens here at places like Michigan, places like Auto Club as well. Very big, wide 2-mile tracks where it seems as though the space is infinite. And as soon as you're in the midst of a pack, that space can really drop significantly.
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised too for Tepe, because usually, running at a track like Michigan, it really gets slick on the bottom, and usually it's not too bad up on the top groove, but he might have just went a little bit too high and kind of into the marbles, and at this 1 p.m. start time as well, like you said, could have got that outside really slick as well. And it was kind of crazy too that maybe more cars weren't involved, because that was pretty high up there in the running order. And you've seen how besides Mendonça there, who he was clear of the field, he had some clean air, but everyone else behind him, it was almost like a restrictor plate track. So a lot of cars did get damaged in that wreck, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, definitely could have. But as you're looking, and as you said it, there's Charlie Kuzma in the 03 getting some of his damage repair. It's only a 25-lap first race, and that's exactly what was listed by the owner, Vic Bloom, and all the officials decided to make both halves 25 laps, which at a place like this, it doesn't seem like too long, but I mean, it's rather short, especially when we start to click laps down, and things are going to get very tight. So, I mean, having an incident very well this early could kind of mire you back even now from the rest of this first race, because it's such a short distance that I think if you want to get that damage fixed, and especially if you're down a lap or more at this point, it'd probably be very difficult to get back under any sort of lead lap circumstances and run for the win, especially even with that damage going with you. So that's going to be very tough for them. I think they may have their sights set on this second race, but the good news is up front, we do have the pace car lining up the field. They're all double file, so we should be going green very soon here, Mike.
Yeah, we should be good and going back green as the field's doubled up. The pace car is headed on the back stretch. We'll take another crack at it here. And, interesting note, I believe from 14th on back, a lot of those guys, even if they did not have damage, hit pit road. Again, not having too many laps under green flag racing, it might not be a big difference, but it'll be kind of interesting to note. I believe Harrison Talion is the first guy who did take tires to see where his progress is. There he is in that number 23 DoorDash machine, kind of little Bubba Wallace-esque, and see if he can climb his way up to the front. But as we're going to come to lap number 5 of 25 here in the first half of the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100. The pace car is ready to dive down onto pit road, and it will do so. And Richard Mendonça is going to take the green flag here on lap number 5, and another good start for him as he's going to pull away from Dennis Weeks. Dennis Weeks going to pull to the inside in front of Abigail Winters as they're going to head down into turn number 1. And again, a little too wide kind of behind Mendonça as he pulls away. He almost got a 3-wide situation. Looks like Austin Beers is trying to work his way up to the front as they go almost 3 wide. Oh no, they were clear there. Here we see Winters and Beers battling side by side, and this is going to be for that second position. And what a good run here so far by the newcomer, Abigail Winters.
Yeah, doing well for herself right now in the top 3. You see, trying to use the draft to Austin Beers. What a fantastic move by that ID Racing Toyota Tundra. Sailed to the inside and had enough being behind them in the dirty air, so decided to take matters into his own hands and spread himself wide to second place, and now he has a shot to charge against your current race leader. But exactly how it was on the restart, just fanning out every single corner. You see the 52 of Gabriel Edwards also, he might have tagged the outside wall on his way there, and everybody else is still working forward. Look at this, 3 wide as Monticelli gets put to the middle.
Oh, and looks like they are still battling out 3 wide here to see if they can settle it out. Oh, Monticelli gets a little loose, and the 18 of Belsha is going to have to back off, and looks like now the 75 truck of Dylan Gooden is going to come into the inside and put pressure on Monticelli. This is back for around the 8th position that these guys are duking it out for right now. See Chris Ryan in that battle as well. But you look at Austin Beers going for the lead, and he's going to take it. And interesting to note there, Austin Beers, he's got a little bit of damage on that front end, but was still able to be fast enough and get the draft, and he's able to take the lead. But how about that 52 truck climbing up through the field here as well? He was fast in practice here for this race tonight, and he's currently worked his way up into the 2nd position, and he's going to try to look down and put his sights on the leader, Austin Beers, as we complete lap number 6. And Beers blocking that inside line. Gabriel Edwards is going to look to the outside as they battle side by side going into turn number 2. As they're coming out, looks like that bottom line will prevail, and Austin Beers will hold on to the lead.
You know, I'm surprised that Beers, although he has that nose damage, as you see Gabriel Edwards trying to force his nose to the inside. And now we'll take a look up top, that Austin Beers, even with some of that nose damage, is not affecting him as seriously as I thought it would. Here at a place like Michigan, you're such high speed, you're definitely on the throttle most of the time, so even a bit of aerodynamic damage will take an effect, and they are aggressive for this race scene, but even more so behind them. Watch this, 3 wide as Winters looks under both Mendonça, and it seems to be the 93 of Nicholas, or the 80 rather, of Chris Ryan trying to spread through the middle. Look at how tight things get, and Austin Beers continues to fare for the race lead still.
I think there's contact back between Chris Ryan. Oh, and there's more contact. The 80 car is flipping upside down. There's 2 cars flipping as there's heavy contact. Oh, man, Mendonça, who is early leader of this race, he's flipped, and it looks like his night might be over. And they were battling 3 wide. It looked like they got a little loose coming out of 2, and it must have got a little too closer for comfort going down the backstretch, and chaos ensued as we'll check out what happened here on the replay. And man, oh man, as you see the inside, Ryan gets a little loose there, gets into Mendonça, and he comes back down and just trying to save it, got a little bit of a tank slapper situation, and crazy flip, almost gets stuck to the wall, shoots up, and both the 480 and 46 go for a wild ride here at Michigan.
Oh my goodness, he caught Wilder there, and even worse for the 46 and Mendonça, the pole sitter. You see him completely flaring through. That's the 2 of David Westergreen who got into him at that point. You see him there, he got tagged a little bit, but just a minor mistake right there by the 80 of Ryan just sends him contact. At first it doesn't seem too bad, but then at this point, you see the 80 just gets loose and gets sent right in the 46. Nowhere for the wall to go. A wild ride, tumbling all the way to the inside wall, and even then some more as well. Very unfortunate there for the driver of the 46. I mean, he started up pole, but got pushed out of the lead by Beers. And then ever since, just mired back through the field, and just tells you how, even though things are wide at this track, as soon as you make a minor mistake, the margin of error is so slim.
Yeah, it is very slim, and you've seen just, I mean, all the contact before this was not that great. I mean, you look just barely going into the corner. As you see kind of the look from Johnny Eckert, I'm sure he had a wild view of this. Just slight contact, and then it led to heavy contact and almost a moonshot for that 80 truck. It was kind of almost reminiscent of, I believe that was Monticelli at Martinsville, kind of just shooting the moonshot. And both cars did stick the landing, though, so at least they have that going for them.
Definitely is, but watch this spread off pit road. Gabriel Edwards will lead him out. That was about everybody but the 93 of Nicholas Monticelli, who decided to go down pit road. So an interesting call at about the halfway mark of this first race. And what a move by Edwards to grab the hold of position for all of them. Austin Beers, I think, spent a little bit of extra time on pit road, maybe to repair that nose damage. It's still rather apparent on his Toyota Tundra, but maybe could handle just a little bit better next time around. So Now what comes to, I think, a bigger question here is what strategy these guys are going to use, because in terms of fuel, there's probably not going to be a concern for that, considering the fact that it's only 25 laps. Tire wear will probably be a topic to discuss in terms of maybe a worry, a concern for the drivers, and I think pitting here at the halfway mark will probably do you well for the most part. Maybe not a caution clock, and there's only about 14, 13 laps left in this one, so what's going to be the biggest question is how these drivers are going to run. Do you want to be more aggressive this time? Do you want to kind of push forward like guys like Austin Baier and the 52 of Edwards has done, or do you want to kind of hang in the back, anticipate a big wreck like we just saw, and kind of wait things out, survive in advance from there?
Yeah, I think, maybe it's going to be aggressive. I think we kind of seen that for the lead between Baier and Edwards, and even Vincent Isabella was throwing his hat into that ring as well right before the caution came out. It'll be interesting to see how Monticelli does staying out on the old tires. We haven't had a whole heck of a lot of green flag laps, but I think it's going to be enough where he might fade. Now, I'm kind of interested to see. I think you got Dustin Dewar back in the 7th spot. I was noticing he was running around the 12th position before the caution came out. That might have been a 2-tire strategy for him. Maybe some guys trying to mix it up here a little bit, so we'll see kind of how this unfolds. But I think if it were me, I would want to take 4 fresh tires and kind of see where my car is going to handle from there. But we'll see how Austin Baier too, again, like you were saying with that nose damage, maybe getting a little bit of that fixed. But I think for him, it looks like he's all right, especially when he's pushing another car. I don't think it's going to affect him that much. And that's kind of what I think helped get him into that lead. But we didn't see him get that lead that Mondanza got when he took the lead on the initial starts. It seemed like the other guys sucked up to him a little bit quicker. So we'll see. He might have to time out if he wants to contend for the win here. But right now we do have Nicholas Monticelli going to be our leader as we're going to restart on lap number 13 of 25, about the halfway mark here in half number 1 as the pace car dives onto pit road. Monticelli's going to hit the gas here. We're back under green here in the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100 here at Michigan, as you see the 2 ID racing trucks of Austin Baier and Vincent Isabella hooking up on the bottom as they're going to try to make a push going for the lead going into turn number 1. And it looks like Isabella's thinking about looking on the outside, and he's getting right on the back bumper to that 93. And now Austin Baier is going to try to shoot on the bottom as well. But right now, Monticelli holding on to that lead, but he's got a whole heck of a bumper full. That 42. Oh, teammates making contact. Isabella going around. Oh, man, trouble. Isabella backed into the wall hard. He's missing part of his bumper cover there, the trunk, the bed cover there. That's the word I was looking for. Oh, and his car's smoking. Heavy damage for that 42 truck as the 2 ID racing trucks make contact, battling for that 2nd spot. Looked like maybe they were going to try to push each other, and maybe Vincent thought he was going to be clear. As you see here on the replay, comes down. I think thought maybe he was going to draft with the truck of Austin Baier. And heavy contact with Josh Duke, and that's where he got his damage. Looks like Josh Duke, he's going to be done for the race as well. But that's where sometimes it's good to have teammates, but in this case, this is where things might get a little interesting after this contact.
You're riding on board with Austin Baier, and you just see the slight contact there from the nose to the 42. And I think right there, it's just trying to make sure he can get within the tiny little bit of space that he had there with that 42 as well. Also, a big hit by the 52 of Gabriel Edwards, who I think was anticipating another case of Austin Baier maybe getting into him. Lost the truck, pounded the outside wall. Luckily, was able to keep it off the inside wall, but slowed to a halt right at the entrance of pit road. But for that 42, I think it was just a case of trying to make that tiny space work, get to the inside of the race leader right about here. But at least Austin Baier had his nose in there, and just a slight bit of contact between the teammates. So luckily, everybody else, though, apart from Josh Duke, you see a big hit there to the outside wall. That was the only big hit from any other driver that was involved in this incident. But for everybody else, good for them. They're able to scramble around, and they kind of split the middle there, parted the seas, allowed for Isabella to get around and at least spin through the track without getting hit by anyone else. So at least that leaves Monticelli still in this lead, and I think early we're seeing a lot of yellows to bring this one out with about 10 laps to go.
Yeah, about 10 laps to go, quite a bit of yells. Yeah, they're all jockeying for position. And again, yeah, I think it was incidental contact between the teammates, but got to be a little frustrating. That gap closed up so quick, and he was going to try to shoot on the inside of Monticelli, but Monticelli holding on to that lead, staying out on tires, has not hit pit road yet. And, yeah, I believe most of these cars did stay out this time by, at least in the top 10, you see some of those cars coming off pit road, like the Steven Schumann in the 24. There's some cars that got some damage. There's Blake Barney, and Carpenter still down there. And then I think Westergren getting a little bit of that damage fixed that when he got into Mendonça earlier when he flipped. But, wow, just a crazy race so far. We still got 10 green flag laps coming, or hopefully green flag laps, 10 laps to go here in half number 1. As the field looks like they're about to come to the 1 to go. But just to let you know out there in our audience, you can, if you want to join the conversation up us in the booth, you can do so by using hashtag AskKBRN. You can put any question you'd like followed by the hashtag, and we will put the answer to the best of our ability. That's AskKBRN for anything you want to ask here in tonight's broadcast. Again, that's hashtag AskKBRN, because there's probably a lot of questions. Maybe if there's going to be a little bad blood between teammates. I doubt it, but maybe I'm trying to play up a rivalry here, Kenneth. But, yeah, I'm going to real interesting to see how long, now that we have one cycle of green flag laps for those guys in the top 5, if Monticelli is going to be able to hold on to that lead.
Yeah, and that was a big question I think that was posed when he stayed out, whether the fresh tires are kind of going to swallow him up. For now, it doesn't seem to be, but, I mean, he was getting hounded by the 2 ID racing trucks behind him, so maybe he could have equalized out. This yellow probably could have made things a little more equal between the older tires that the 93 has and everybody else on the fresher tires. We'll just see how it is for the most part, but we've had a lot of yellows to spread out. We haven't seen too much green flag racing, so I'm hoping these last 9 laps can provide a lot of action, a lot of fun. We've seen drivers go all over the racetrack, and maybe look out for that 3 of Austin Beers, because he has been rather aggressive here tonight, and he is hungry for that race lead.
Yeah, he's been trying to make the right moves, but that damage also might be hampering him a little bit. We'll see the paced car getting ready to dive onto pit road as we're going to hit lap number 17 of 25 here in the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100, but a great jump by Nicholas Monticelli as they go back green flag racing, and he's going to shoot out to a huge lead over Austin Beers. But now it looks like Beers got in front of Belsha, and they're going to try to push their way up to the front as they're going to look to exit out of turn number 2. And see if he can get the run, but it looks like so far, looks like Monticelli's going to be able to hold him off, but Beers is going to get a good run coming out of turn number 2. He's going to look to the inside, and right now, not a whole lot of help, but it looks like he's going to be able to muscle his way to the lead as they head down into 3, and it looks like, yes, he will take the lead and does the crossover move. Let's see if Monticelli can hold on to that top 5 spot, and he's even trying to look to do the crossover move on the inside, and well, maybe a 3 wide. Oh, it looked like Bundren was going to look on the inside. Now he's tucking up behind the 93s. He's going to push him up to the front. And they're going to dive into turn 1. And this is going to be a 3-horse battle for the lead right now with a whole bunch of hungry other horses right behind.
And there was almost contact there side by side between Glenn Bundren and Austin Beers, as you saw both of them trying to work around the seam. Here's the 93 all over the racetrack trying to block everyone behind. Beers, though, will look to the bottom. Here is the 23 of Harrison Tylon as well to lap number 18. And it seems as though everybody else is getting him into the draft. They're able to at least get some of that benefits from everybody battling behind them. Watch the big block here. A little bit of a hit to the 3 in the back bumper there, but they are about 3 wide for this race lead.
Yeah, you could throw about the top 5 right now under a blanket. Dustin Dewar in the 44 truck. He's getting his hat in the ring as well. But right now, Austin Beers holding that advantage over that 93 truck. Really proud of what that 93 truck's been doing on those old tires, the original set of tires. He's able to hold on right there with them, drag racing, taking a little bit of advantage going into turn 3 as they're side by side. And Beers, it looks like he's going to take the lead. Oh, he's going to push up. Gets Monticelli, pushes him up the racetrack. Monticelli looks like he's going to be able to hold on, but he might lose a couple spots as that inside line now looks like it's going to freight train him. And now Harrison Talion, he's going to try to pass on the outside. He's putting all he can handle to Austin Beers on the rear bumper. As man, oh man, now it's the next man up. now that Monticelli got pushed back all the way to 5th. He's even fallen back in the 6th spot. And Beer's almost like a Talladega move, checking. Oh, and he's pushing him all the way down to the white line. He's on the apron. Beer's still able to hold on to the lead. Oh, man, aggressive moves here, Kenneth. I thought that was about to be a huge wreck.
That could have been very big. Austin Beers went all the way to the bottom of the racetrack, but now as they were fighting forward, another yellow flag comes out. I think it might have been somebody near the rear of the field. At least somebody that did go around. There is more damage to the 24 of Steven Schumann. I think one driver's around. That's the 66 of Abigail Winters, one of the drivers who started up front. And now when the outside wall comes to a rest.
Yeah, unfortunate for Abigail Winters. She was running so well. I think got shuffled back on some pit stops, and unfortunately she goes around. And you can see what happened here on the replay, the KBRN Network replay, to see what brought out this latest yellow. And it looks like a car spins out in front of her. Well, this looks like maybe after the caution came out, her in the 15 truck. I'm not sure who's in the 15. I don't think they're numbered correctly. Gets into her, and she gets in the wall, so that's unfortunate for her. But I'm not sure who was the first car to spin out that initially brought out that yellow.
I think it might have been the 91 of Dennis Weeks, indeed it was. He got tagged by the 11 truck here. Then a big hit to the 24 Steven Schumann, gets sent back around, but then it was everything else up front involving that 66 that brought everything to a halt here as the 66 practically just rolls to a stop and decides to just keep it there to rest. And that's exactly where we get our yellow flag. But things got very hectic there, Mike, from about the first lap of that restart up until this point, and now we lay at 5 laps to go. So now, where do things change from here? Do we have more aggressive driving? Do the drivers go further for this lead? I'm not sure how anything's going to stack up, but I think we did have one driver go down pit road. Indeed, it was the 23 of Tylon. So that was a very gutsy, interesting call here by that 23. Not sure exactly why he's deciding to do this so late in this running, but maybe it could help him with some track position later on. A question there by Liam Sheen. He asked, how am I? Well, I'm doing very good, watching some insane racing here at Michigan, I'll tell you that.
Oh, it is insane. I mean, we've seen these guys aggressive, and I expect we're going to have about 3 laps to go here in heat number 1, and I expect it to be a free-for-all. You have Austin Beers leading Dustin Dewar. How about him in that 44 or 32 truck, 44 on the program? He's worked his way up into second. We have Belsha in third. Monticelli still hanging on in those original set of tires in fourth. And Bundren hanging on into fifth as he was up in the mix as well. And how about Johnny Eckert? We haven't mentioned his name a whole heck of a lot, but he's in the 6th position. 7th spot is Dylan Gooden. And Dennis Weeks, even after getting spun out, he's in 8th. The 64 truck of Walgren is going to be in 9th, and how about that? Talion, he's going to be back in 10th. So, you know, even Harrison being back into that 10th position, you know, the way these guys have been battling up in the top 5, you know, how the C's good part, as we've even seen under a couple of these wrecks so far, he could get lucky and maybe shoot himself up and get a never know. I'm sure those 2 guys in the front row, those 2 guys even in second, how about, again, Monticelli on those original set of tires, still battling in that 4th position as the field doubles up. They're going to get ready to go to green. And I don't even know who the favorite would be, because I think it's just going to be an all-out battle, free-for-all.
If anything is certain here, Mike, is that if they were aggressively driving the way they were about 3-4 wide, making those aggressive moves with about 10 laps to go, if you wind it down to just 2, once we go green, well, it's going to be an all-out battle. It's going to be warfare here between every single driver. What I did notice, though, on that last restart, even on the short run, is that riding different parts of the racetrack in terms of the seams and the turns do fare well and do actually determine how you get off of the corner. We saw Austin Beers ride the middle, took the lead by crossing over to the inside. He got the run based off of that as the leader washed up the racetrack. So watch for the drivers using different seams, whether it be all the way to the yellow line on the bottom or whether it be just a couple of grooves higher. That could be the difference between winning and losing this first race. It's going to be a big wild one. There's still some drivers in it, so we'll see exactly what it goes down.
Yeah, we'll see how this shapes up as we have 3 laps coming to 2 to go. It'll be a green-white checkered to finish out heat number 1 here in the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100. The pace car dives off. Austin Beers is going to lead him to green, and he's going to hit the loud pedal, and he's going to take a shootout to a big lead over Dustin Dewar as they're going back racing. Dewar's going to try to block on the inside. Looks like he does have that position to hold on right in front of Belsha as they battle down into turn 1. Austin Beers currently all single file behind him. Dustin Dewar as the run is behind them, about the top 5, pulling away from the rest of the pack. But any big run here could change everything. It looks like Belsha has a little bit of connection issues. Right now, the top line looking like it's working out to be a little bit better. But going down into turn 3, Austin Beer still holds on.
And here we go. We're coming to the white flag off turn 4. You see Belsha and Bundren trying to utilize that middle groove, but they haven't been able to get that run just yet. This could be the benefit for that number 3 truck of Austin Beers. White flag in the air for the first race of this Shane DiMantova Does Design 100. They're still side by side for the race seat, but they are still actually hounding on that 3 using the draft.
Yeah, the draft is paying off so far. Right now, the inside getting a lot of the help. Right now, Austin Beers able to pick the line. There's a wreck on the backstretch. The 75 truck of Dylan Gooden. He looks like he goes around, and the 90 truck of Johnny Eckert. They're going to battle or wreck on the backstretch. Right now, it looks like it's a 3-car battle between Austin Beers, Belsha, and Dustin Dewar going down into 3. Looks like right now the clean air of Beers looks like it's going to pay off, but oh, it looks like Belsha's going to get around. He's going to duck all the way to the bottom. They're going to be 2 wide side by side for the lead, and it looks like Beers is going to take the win over Belsha here in heat number 1. And Dustin Dewar will round out the top 3, but how about that? The damaged front bumper and everything. Austin Beers hangs on, and he's going to come home with another victory here in the OSCA Truck Series. I believe it was at Dover that he won one earlier this season, and you can just see how close it was, Kenneth. It looked like that 18 truck was just about to build that run, build that momentum, but it was a little bit too late. And right at the line, the 3 truck able to hold off Belsha. And there it is. That's the difference. About 7/8 of a truck, I would say. I thought it was a little closer at first view, but it did look like, again, a side-by-side battle for the lead. And a crazy finish. And how about Abigail Winters? Just to note, we've seen her sideways on that last caution. She did come home to bring it in the 6th position. Harrison Talion, who did pit under that caution to finish in the or started in the 10th spot on that restart, finishes 5th. So that field jumbled up quite a bit, Kenneth, and what a wild one was heat number 1 of this race tonight.
That was insane. I mean, very good run by Keelan Belsha, and he was setting it up. You could tell how he was setting up 3 and 4. He was eager to go to the inside, and the 3 of Austin Beers shut the door at the right moment. He had done that before a couple laps prior for anyone trying to go underneath, and then just was forced to use the outside and barely got there. I think if it was about a couple more 100 feet, he probably would have been even closer. You probably would have seen an even closer battle to side by side for that first win. But what a job by Austin Beers. Remember, this is his 2nd win. We saw him capture one at Dover earlier this season. So not only has a short track win to its credit, now he has a big super speedway win as well.
Yeah, the short track kid getting it done on the 2-mile track here at Michigan Speedway. So now he'll be starting 5th in the next heat. So right now we're seeing the cars warm up for heat number 2. Again, a little bit later start time. It does look like the track is a little less sunshine on the racetrack. So it looks like the track might be a little tighter. So it'll be interesting to see how this race fares out. And right now they're maybe trying to get a little bit of a feel for how much tighter these cars might be here in heat number 2. So a little bit more shade, Kenneth. This could change everything.
Definitely could. Maybe some added grip. Maybe we won't see as many trucks loose and sideways on the racetrack, but I'll promise you much. At least with the amount of grip we'll see, and even with, I think, the track being just a tad bit cooler, we're going to see the pack racing, I think, intensified. We're still going to see some of the crazy action. I'm hoping we don't see as many yellows so that we're probably able to get a full showcase of the whole pack of drivers and at least the challenging between passing and at least getting 4th position. I think was a lot of fun in that first race. I think we should see a lot more of that if they're able to minimize the yellows. But, I mean, there's about 3 minutes left. The drivers are still warming up. So if you had a little bit of a mistake in that first race, this is the time to really pick things up once more.
Yeah, it'll be time to get going and see if you can get back up to the front. I think the draft, as we've seen there in heat number 1, is going to play key, and maybe with a little bit more grip, we'll see more helping out there than we did in heat number 1. But we got about a little over 2.5 minutes left to go in practice. We'll take a quick break here, and we'll rejoin you as they grid back up for heat number 2 in the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100 here for round 8 of the OSCA Truck Series. We'll be right back after this.
I am here and now, where stories you pass down are born. I am where drivers become legends, and legends become the new kings. I'm where nothing's impossible. Even a champion rising again in Phoenix. I'm moving forward, and if you really try, you can catch me. I am NASCAR.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
And welcome back, everybody, here on KBRN Network. We're here watching them getting ready to grid here for heat number 2 of the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100 here for round 8 of the OSCA Truck Series. And we can get the starting grid going here as they are lining up on pit road. We'll see how they shape up. And right now, starting on the front row is going to be that 23 truck of Harrison Talion, and alongside him, Nicholas Monticelli. He's going to be in the 93 truck as he stayed on those old tires, made it work, and he'll be restarting in second. In row number 3, it's going to be the 3 truck of Austin Beers. He was your heat number 1 winner. And how about the newcomer, Abigail Winters? She's going to start pretty close to the front. She's going to start alongside Beers in the 6th spot. And starting in 9th, you seen him get in that heavy contact in heat number 1, but he's going to start 9th here in heat number 2. And alongside of him is going to be that 64 Dick Trickle painted scheme of Kyle Walgren. And starting in the 12th, or the, sorry, I'm kind of lost here. Starting in the 13th spot is going to be the 91 truck of Dennis Weeks, and alongside of him is the 75 truck of Dylan Gooden. Yeah, and they'll be ready to dive down, or pace truck will be ready, or car will be ready to dive down pit road, and they'll get ready to go green here for heat number 2 in the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100 here at Michigan. Harrison Talion, he's going to be leading him to the green. We've seen how promising he was before he took those tires right at the end of the stage. Let's see if he can hold up front. And you got Monticelli, he's got fresh rubber. You've seen what he was able to do with old rubber. He's going to start alongside, and they are going to hit the loud pedal. And Harrison Talion, he's going to take the lead down in turn number 1. He's going to get a good push from Dustin Dewar in that 32 truck as they head down into turn number 1. Harrison Talion with the lead, and then it's going to be Dewar. And how about Austin Beers showing that speed here tonight? He's pushing his way all the way up into that 3rd position, and right now it looks like that bottom line has got it hooked up. And how about Blake Barney? We haven't mentioned his name. He was on pit road early in heat number 1. He's currently in 4th spot, but look at Austin Beers, Kenneth. He's looking to go right back to where he ended heat number 1. He's looking to go for that lead as he's trying to take that 2nd spot from Dustin Dewar.
And you see everybody fanning out behind him, but good news for that 3 of Austin Beers. He's got a refreshed race truck, so no damage to hamper his aerodynamic performance. And now he is right to the back bumper of that 23 of Tylon. And you didn't mention Blake Barney there in that 00. Haven't talked about him all night long. Got damaged from an early wreck to start the first race. And now he may be in contention as they're about 3 wide for the race lead as Tylon got loose in the middle of 1 and 2, and he's falling back quickly.
Yeah, it looked like Dewar, he was all by himself. He took the high side around. He carried a lot of speed coming off the corner, but it looks like Beers is going to hold off to that lead of Dewar on the inside line as we look out front of the 00. Blake Barney started all the way up into 7th. He's currently running in 3rd, and right now this is feeling a lot like a Talladega race here. It looks like where the help is. You see that 23 truck pushing the 32 on that outside. Oh, looks like Monticelli gets in the back of that 23, and there's going to be heavy contact to the wall for the 93. Harrison has a little bit of damage after spinning out. Doesn't look like it's too bad. Ooh, there's some heavy contact, but you have to be so close. You know, it's, again, a lot like Daytona Talladega for these trucks. They're pretty much wide open. Monticelli was trying to get that momentum on that outside line. Just made a little bit of contact with the 23, sends him around, and they make contact going to the wall. Oh, maybe I thought he was behind him, but it looks like he was in that middle lane. And let's check out what exactly brought out this yellow here. He's almost 3 wide and just a little bit of contact. Hard into the wall, the 93. Ooh, Talion was into the 15 truck. I'm not sure who's in the 15 because I don't believe that's the correct number on the truck. 15 is that, I can't.
Tanner Brooks.
Tanner Brooks. There we go. I was trying to figure out who it was on. There we go. Tanner Brooks. He made a little contact with Monticelli as well. Or, Harrison Talion as they get into it. Looks like he might be able to continue going with getting some damage fixed on pit road. I believe Harrison, too, if he doesn't have motor damage, didn't make too hard a contact with Brooks as well. But, man, oh, man, early contact. A little bit of 3 wide gone bad once again early as we're on already lap 4 of 25. But so far, the green flag racing that we have seen, it looks like it's picking up right where it left off. There's been some pretty awesome battles here so far.
Yeah, but at least we probably went a little bit faster before that first yellow. And over the course of that first stretch of green flag racing, you saw how that 23, especially when he was rocking the middle groove, that's exactly why he fell out of the race lead, was because he was struggling with the handling of the race truck. It got very loose underneath him, had to try and save it, lost that speed as a result, and then practically got mired back in traffic before, obviously, the contact there with the 93 of Monticelli. But I mean, just a matter of trying to find that space. I think that you can compare it to what we saw with Beers and Isabella earlier in the last race, where the space just isn't there. Things tighten up very quick in a big pack, and then one driver getting into another, even if it's light contact, can send someone around, and obviously that is the case for a yellow flag. I think the good news is that there wasn't as many drivers involved, maybe about 3 to 4 trucks, but I mean, for the 23 of Thailand and how well his last race went, this certainly isn't good news to spill over in the first 5 laps of this one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be shaping up to be a pretty good race here. And, it's pretty similar, I think, to how early we saw the caution in heat number 1. But just seeing how crazy and aggressive these drivers are, these runs that people are getting. You see Beers, almost immediately go from that 5th spot, worked his way up all the way to the lead relatively quickly. You see Dewar, I thought with all that help being on the inside all by himself, he got a run on the outside coming out of turn 2, and he was able to take it 3 wide for the lead. And then Barney starting back in the 7th position, working his way up to 3rd. So there's a lot of movers and shakers here so far. Here in heat number 2, I expect no different, and there might be some more. I expect to see a few more yellows as well because of how aggressive these guys are ramped up. Because track position, putting yourself in position at the right time, is important. But again, Kenneth, you also want to survive and make it to the end of this heat number 2.
Yeah, you definitely do. I think there's a big problem here in the fact that you want to survive. There is the chance to hang on and try to avoid either big wrecks or stay out of trouble. The problem that lies here is that it's only a 25 lap race. We saw how quickly the laps winded down even under yellow at a track like this in the first race. So if you started near the rear, I think we looked at a couple drivers who did start near the rear, which included, I think, Johnny Eckert, who was running up front. He also was mired back in traffic. You want to gain those positions as much as you possibly can over the course of these 25 laps, knowing that it doesn't take as long to complete that amount of laps at this very racetrack. But at the same time, you may keep that conservatism, that aggressivism at the same time, and it conflicts very, very harshly within each other. But I mean, we'll exactly try to see. A lot of the drivers who contended for the win in the first race are here, so we'll see exactly how things change as the pace car will head off the pit road in just a matter of moments.
Yeah, we're going to come to lap number 27 of 25 of heat number 2 in the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100 here at Michigan. And Austin Beers is going to lead him down to the green flag, and he hits the gas, and he's going to take a lead on the inside line. Blake Barney, he gets a good jump. He's going to get by Dustin Dewar for that 2nd spot as Dewar ducks to behind the 00 of Blake Barney as they battle down into turn 1. And right now, 2 ID trucks again up front is the 00 of Blake Barney, and in the lead is going to be Austin Beers. He's looking to continue to do what he did in heat number 1, and that is win, and he's looking to pull off the sweep. But right now, things look like it's single file, but I'm pretty sure quickly it's going to double up as Barney looked like he was going to try to take a peek down on the inside. Didn't quite have the run. And right now with that clean air, looks like Austin Beers is able to hold him off. But now he's going to dive down on the inside of Austin Beers coming to lap number 8. He's got Dustin Dewar behind him, but Beers has Belsha and Budrin right underneath him. And ooh, looks like Barney might have pushed up the track there a little bit, Kenneth.
He definitely did. That's exactly what allowed this second seam to get all the run as you're riding to the cockpit of the 18. And Keelan Belsha may have the draft, and he'll possibly look inside for a crossover. Whoa. Beers has been aggressive on these blocks so far tonight. That's exactly what's going down. He's got help from the 37 of Glenn Bundren. But as I'm seeing right now, you definitely do not want to spread yourself away from the field too much, because as soon as the draft kicks in, then all of a sudden everybody will start to pounce, and it will look like a freight train right behind you. And that 3 of Austin Beers did suffer that a couple times here tonight. Was able to block his way out of it, but there's only so many times before that could work out. You see the 11 of Matthew Weeks look to the bottom of Blake Barney. Did not succeed that time by off turn 2. But watch Keelan Belsha. Fantastic run off the banking. Now he takes over the race lead.
Yeah, he's got that good run on the outside, and he clears the 3 truck of Austin Beers, but Beers is going to dive down into turn number 3, and looks like he's going to take back the advantage of the top spot. But, looks like Beers was trying to block. There's a little bit of connection issues for Belsha as he's getting another good run as they get to the stripe, and once again they're side by side as they hit the start-finish line. And it looks like, again, a Talladega race, as you have in the inside you have Beers and Barney in that first and fourth spot, and on the top side you have Belsha and Bundren as they are pushing down the backstretch. You see bump drafting down the backstretch, and that pushes Belsha to the lead. And now Bundren, he's going to take that second spot. He's going to look maybe to the inside to see if he can get a run going to the start-finish line, and we're going to have a 3-wide battle for the lead.
3 wide for the race lead. Bundren decided not to push the 18 anymore, and Austin Beers, who's been holding that bottom side. Watch the 91 of Dennis Weeks now. He's out of nowhere to the outside. 3 wide for the second spot. What a fantastic battle we're seeing right here in the Irish Hills. Still now 3 wide for this race lead. Beers the nose out front off of turn 2. Belsha going to get the better run out of it, but they are still 3 wide and running for this race lead aggressively as Bundren has nowhere to go but the middle.
Oh, Weeks was pushing Belsha to the lead going into turn number 3, and for that second spot, that still holds on to a 3-wide battle as you look out the front windshield of Bundren as he's pushing again Belsha, as those two guys seem to have it pretty good hooked up there around that outside line as they're able to take the advantage. And right now, those two ID trucks not working together quite as well as the 18 and 37, and they are currently single file in the 1-2, but right behind them, that's where you see them all doubled up, and they're ready to try to a lot of these cars work their way up to the front. But right now, Belsha currently holding lead, and you see Blake Barney finally starting to push his teammate of Austin Beers. And how about that 75 truck of Dylan Gooden? He's working his way up in the top 10, currently in that 7th position. And how about this, Dennis Weeks? Oh, Bundren, he's throwing a blocks here too. Looks like Austin Beers throwing blocks here. Look how aggressive you have to be to try to hold on to that lead, because it's almost like you're a sitting duck, Kenneth.
It is, and you're not guaranteed anything once you take over the race lead because the draft is so high, and you pretty much are forced to mirror drive it and block any sort of charge you can get, because if you're able to get your bumper right there, push in the dirty air, it could push away the driver behind you and could at least give you some sort of time to gather your breath and get things situated to what you actually want to do from here on out. But I did notice the inside line, everybody who was down there, including the 3 of Beers, the 00 of Barney, the 44 of Doer, all of them who have been riding that yellow line since the drop of the green flag on this restart, they have fallen back significantly, and I'm pretty sure it's mostly due to the fact that they can really not hold the throttle on their trucks as much. And then off of the banking, once you run the middle to the high groove, you're able to get a lot better of a run off of the corners, and at least in terms of saving tires underneath you, it's a lot better on the race truck, and you can take care of it just a little bit more. And now here comes the 11 of Matthew Weeks. We saw him fighting almost 3 wide for second. Now he looks to the outside in the Toyota Tundra, looking for the lead on lap 15.
And it looks like Matthew Weeks is going to be able to take it as it come to the stripe as the 2 Week boys. I don't know if they're related, but they are running 1-3 right now. 1-2 as now Dennis Weeks gets by Bundren for that second spot, but they're still battling side by side. But like you said, Kenneth, it looks like those guys are running on the inside, maybe burning up that right front tire just a little bit more. And with that momentum that you get out of turn number 2 and turn number 4, that looks to be the key advantage for a lot of these guys once they work their way up to the front, to the lead. As you see, Matthew Weeks started all the way back into the 8th position, currently holding on to the lead. So it's the Weeks and Weeks show right now as the 91 of Dennis Weeks is in second. And how about this? We've seen Chris Ryan go for a wild ride in heat number 1, but it looks like he's going to try to come back up here. He's in the top 5. He's in the 4th position. And how about Mendonça, as he's in 6th spot? He's the other truck that went for a wild ride. They kind of did the synchronized flipping earlier tonight, and we've seen him lead a couple laps. We know he does have a fast hot rod underneath him. And how about that 2 truck of Dennis Westergreen working his way up into the top 10? He sure could use a break. He could sure use a good run, and he's working his way up towards that top 10. But right now, up front, Matthew Weeks still holding true, still holding strong. So right now, maybe this is to the point where some of these tires are wearing out a little bit, but we're seeing a lot more single file runs and this kind of showing maybe who saved their tires and now maybe in a prime position to win this race if we do stay green here.
Yeah, Mike, and if there's any place where the skill level and the amount of work you have to put into the truck will pay off, it'll definitely be over the course of this long run. This is the first time we see it happen all night, considering the fact that we had so many yellows to spur everything up in that first race, and tonight in this second one we're seeing a lot more green flag action, as practically limited the field to just tire conservation, and that's what the separation is all for. And I think that's exactly why Matthew Weeks has been able to keep this race lead, because if you saw earlier, Mike, for the first couple laps on that restart, if you held the lead, you couldn't even hold it for half a lap before somebody would try to make a move. But for Weeks now, I think this is the benefit for him. He's using that snake train method to try and go all the way down, break the draft just a little bit, and that's really helping him fairly well, keeping a fair distance between himself and the 91. So as we approach the final laps in this second stage, I think tire wear and tire conservation, whoever's able to do the best out of all of them will probably be the best one here and get the checkered flag at the end of the night.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of these guys maybe in the top 5 trying to save their tires, work their way up to get that run. You know, looking at the interval between Dennis Weeks and Matthew Weeks, who's out in the lead, it's about 0.2 of a second, but it can close all the way up to about 1/10 of a second. It's kind of rubber banding in and out so far in these laps here. And we'll see if Matthew Weeks is going to be burning off his stuff. But I think one thing, too, Kenneth, is that when you're the race leader, sometimes it's a little easier to save the tires because you're kind of controlling maybe that gap between first and second, where when you're in second, you're doing the chasing. So you might be burning your stuff up a little bit more. But we'll see kind of the cat and mouse game of saving tires and who will have the best tires at the end. It's going to be certainly fun to see.
Especially within the 5 laps, the last 5 laps of this race, you're probably going to want to start making the moves now, but in terms of the tire wear, it probably won't be enough. Also, dirty air does play a factor, and you said there, when you're the leader at a track like this, especially over the long run, the clean air certainly does help. Tire wear, I think, could come down to any driver. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're the leader, you could easily burn your stuff up underneath you and lose the position in a heartbeat, but it's all about maintaining the clean air that really helps with gathering the race car together and at least being consistent for the most part. I mean, we're going to catch 5 laps to go here at the line, and Matthew Weeks has been controlling this race ever since he took the lead away, and everybody else behind him are seeming to separate. So for now, Weeks just has to hold on and hit his marks.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be some smooth sailing. Sometimes his lead gets all the way up to 0.3 of a second. Narrows down to about 0.2 of a second now, so that rubber band getting a little bit wider for Matthew Weeks as he's holding off Dennis Weeks here in the second spot. As we check out, that's kind of battling up there. The 18 car of Belshit is, the caution clock does come out with 5 laps to go, coming to 4 laps to go. So we're going to see a green-white checkered. So what we just said, Kenneth, goes out the window, because I'm sure everyone's going to be diving down onto pit road.
You think anybody had in mind that a caution clock would come out? I probably don't think so. It was the final 5 laps of this race, and I was thinking probably the officials will let this one go like they have before, but yellow comes out. So, wow, this is going to change everything significantly here, because now this is going to give a shot for everybody to go down pit road, and what that means is that whatever we had prior on that restart with the big pack racing and the big shuffles for position, we're probably going to see it happen all over again. So Matthew Weeks and anybody at this point, none of them are safe.
None of them are safe. You're going to be wondering, are some guys even going to gamble and take 2 tires? You talk about the different strategies. I think 4 tires is going to be best to try to get your car or truck to stick and to pick what line you want to go to. But at this venture of the race, I think we might see some various strategies. We've seen Monticelli in that last run stay out on old tires and able to hold on to a top 5. And I think Chris Ryan is one of the trucks that stayed out on pit road. As you see everyone else duck down, there might have been one other taker. It looks like the 66 truck of Abigail Winters. They're going to try to take the no tire strategy. So now we'll see Matthew Weeks is going to lead them on to pit road, and we'll see who wins that race off. And we'll even see what they actually do. Are they going to take 4? Are they going to take 2? And I'm thinking, looks like he's at least got the right sides on. It looks like Barney maybe took 2 tires there. Chris Jordan might have been another truck that stayed out on the racetrack as well. So yeah, so Kenneth, we're seeing a various slew of strategies here, and I'm going to be curious to see what exactly pays off, because I don't think it's going to be exactly what we've seen in heat number 1. It looked like on this long green flag runs, these tires have seen a lot more green flag laps on them in this heat. I'm wondering if, guys like Chris Jordan, Abigail Winters, and Chris Ryan as well, if they're going to be able to hold on to the guys that maybe even took 2 or 4 tires.
Well, it's going to be a 22 to 23 lap difference. So, I mean, this is going to be bigger than what we saw with Monticelli. I think Monticelli had a decent buffer in terms of how old his tires were, and I think the draft certainly did help him and how that truck handled. But, I mean, this is a very gutsy call by all 3 of these drivers, the 80, the 66, and the 4, because you're going to be defending against a large pack of drivers on fresh tires. And here in Michigan, it's not like what we saw at Gateway, where you could probably have limited space and you could probably get held up. Here in Michigan, you have all the space you could ever want. So, and we're going to see a lot of drivers fanning out, going probably 3 or 4 wide for position, especially if they want to get around these 3. I've seen, especially at this venue, how old tires fare versus new tires on restarts, and it has not ended well for anyone who has stayed out. I can understand this call, especially with the amount of laps that are left, and we're going to be limited to green-white checker territory, but they have to really start bracing for impact, because once Barney and Weeks and everybody else on the fresh tires gets their footing set, it's going to be a wild fight for this race win.
Yeah, I think we're going to see maybe 3 wide. We've already seen, we might even see 4 wide on this restart. But I think if you're the top 3 guys here in Ryan, Winters, and Jordan, these guys, a lot of them newcomers or part-timers in the series. I don't think Jordan's made every race. They're not really in it for points. So gambling, doing something just off the wall and seeing if it will stick. If there's 3 people to do it, these might be the drivers to do so. I think Ryan and Abigail Winters, it's their first race in the series here tonight here at Michigan. So why not try something? At least get some TV time. Worst case scenario, you're not in it for the points. You're in it for the glory. And let's see if it does pay off for them as we come down to the green-white checkered, as the pace car is going to dive onto pit road, as we're going to settle this one out here in the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100 here at Michigan. We're going to finish off round number 8 here tonight. And they're going to get ready to go back green flag racing. There you see the pace car diving diving down onto pit road. And here goes Chris Ryan. He's going to lead him down to the green flag, and here he goes. And they get going back green flag racing. And here there might be a penalty for someone going early. And we'll check that out and see who's the culprit there. But right now, looks like Chris Ryan's able to hold on to that lead. But you see the 2 tires of Blake Barney. Looks like they're getting hooked up. And he's going to shoot himself all the way up into second spot. And he dives down on the inside of Chris Ryan as they're going to battle side by side going down into turn number 3.
And he's got help from the 11 of Matthew Weeks. A little bit of a shuffle by the 66 of Winters. She gets pushed out of line even more so. What a big save by the 80. And around he goes, and around go the leaders. Tagged around, caution waves, and a big pile of Johnny Eckert's in it. I believe the 46 of Mendonca's in it as they continue to slide through the grass and around the track. I said fresh tires were going to be dangerous versus the old tires, and everybody just got stacked up there. And about half the field was taken out in that one.
Yeah, that was the big one here at Michigan. You've seen, tough break for some of these guys. Carpenter's got some heavy damage. Blake Barney, he was involved there as well, as you've seen. And how about the 11 truck of Matthew Weeks, who looked like he had the race win in hand, and we'll check out the replay. And it appears this is kind of where it started between the 80 of Ryan and the 00 Barney as they get loose and they start spinning. And it looks like Barney comes down into Weeks. And there's even more contact. I've seen the 18 involved 32 truck of Dustin Dewar. He takes a hard hit to the outside wall. A lot of trucks, I should say, collecting damage. And that was a hard hit. We'll see what Abigail Winters, her view of this. And a lot of cars involved. Heavy hit from Mendonca as his truck comes to a stop there. And you see that hit between the 90. Quick, you'll see that once again here. Yeah, this I think we can classify this as the big one, and I think just like you said, Kenneth, it just kind of boils down to those different tires. Those guys who took the fresh rubber, coming to the white flag, they had to take their opportunity to try to work their way up to the front, and chaos ensued.
And right here, I think miscommunication there. Barney didn't necessarily know that the 11 was there. You see the 11 just sliding through the grass and nowhere to go. Big hit to the inside barrier, and what a horrendous end to what has been such a promising race for that 11 up front. For him, for Gabriel Edwards, for a handful of drivers, that is the end of their night. And with only 3 laps to go, this will surely limit the field. But this is what's left of the aftermath here. The 11 of Dennis Weeks does get by. So does the 37 of Glenn Bundren. Chris Jordan, all old tires, mind you, he also survived. Dylan Gooden is also there as well. Adam Tepe with, I believe, no damage on his race truck, but the 71 of David Carpenter might have just a little bit of, and then you see everybody else practically down pit road, and Austin Beers, I think, also going to gain some positions this time, but
I think he was the one that did get that restart penalty, I do believe. So he's might be mired back in traffic a little bit, but his truck does look relatively clean. But I think for the most part, the top 5 and maybe Austin Beers are probably your only clean trucks that we have left.
Yeah, there probably is. I mean, now it's just survival of the fittest. I mean, we had fantastic racing. I was expecting a different outcome there with the drivers on the old tires. I knew that guys like Blake Barney and Matthew Weeks were going to be pushing through the field, considering the fact that they had all that grip to their advantage. But, I mean, to get around, everybody getting loose, I saw the 66 go up into the wall. I mean, they were going 3 wide. Well, now that's all put in the rearview mirror, because this is going to be another different fight for the race win. You saw Austin Beers run for the win with Keelan Belsha there to the end, and Austin Beers is mired back in the 10th spot. So, Mike, here we may see a brand new race winner here in this second race.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be so. I believe everyone in about our top 8 have not won a race so far this season in the OSCA Truck Series. So I'd say the odds are going to be pretty good that we're going to see a fresh face in victory lane. And right now, Dennis Weeks and Bundren are going to lead him down to the green flag, to the green-white checkered here. And how about, some of these newcomers. Chris Jordan, we've seen him in a few races so far this season. Dylan Gooden, he hasn't made, I believe this might even be his first race here tonight. But yeah, behind him, Adam Tepe, we've seen him have some terrible luck, but his truck's clean. He's going to be looking to go to the front, and we'll see what even that 71 truck can do with David Carpenter with that damage on the front end of his truck, as the pace car is going to dock down onto pit road, and they're going to go back to green for the final green-white checkered here in the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100 here at Michigan, and Weeks takes the green flag. He's going to shoot out all by himself to that race lead, and it's going to leave Bundren and Jordan battling side by side for second. Right now, it looks like Dennis Weeks, he's got that clean air up front as those 2 guys battle, but I'm pretty surprised, Kenneth, that 4 truck is able to hang on those old tires right now with the 37.
And that restart certainly helped him out, but you see how limited the field is. Austin Beers are a little bit further behind, challenging with David Westergreen. That's Charlie Kuzma, also in the 03, but they're about 2 by 2. Look at that door-to-door contact between the 4 and the 37. Even more so, the 37's up to the outside wall, but this will give an even better advantage to Dennis Weeks. White flag in the air one more time around Michigan.
And how about the 75 truck of Dylan Gooden? He's worked his way all the way up into the 2nd spot. Can he get a run? Right now, it looks like all Dennis Weeks has to do is hit his marks, and he's going to get into victory lane, but couldn't get a good run. There's still quite a bit of racing to go, about a mile left to go here at Michigan, and it looks like he's closing that gap, going down into turn number 3. Let's see if he can do it. There's a little bit of damage to that 91 truck. Can he hold off the 75 as they're diving down? They're rounding out in the middle of 3 and 4. They're coming out of the corner. It looks like the 75 truck is going to run out of time. The 91 truck of Dennis Weeks is going to take heat win number 2 here in the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100. Gooden in 2nd, Tepe in 3rd. Austin Beers did work his way up into the 4th position. Chris Jordan in 5th. David Westergreen finished in 6th. That was a run he needed. Charlie Kuzma in 7th. Steven Schumann finishing in 8th. 9th spot is Kyle Walgren, and rounding out the top 10 is the 00 of Blake Barney. So how about that? A new winner here in the OSCA Truck Series, Dennis Weeks. It wasn't the Weeks we initially thought was going to end up in victory lane, as they go pretty wild and crazy on the backstretch. But a Weeks gets into victory lane. We might have thought it was going to be Matthew Kenneth, but at the end of the heat number 2, it's Dennis Weeks that comes out on top.
Definitely was, but don't count him out. Don't discredit him for what he did, because he actually stayed up to the field and he put a wild performance as well, and a fantastic one at best. Right in the middle of the field, running for top 5, even under green flag against some of the best in this second race. So don't discredit him on that. That 91 has been around there the entire time and able to survive that large wreck at the end and then practically just run away with it. I think also very good for the 75 of Dylan Gooden. Also that he was able to survive, and also a proper way to try and take over that race seat in the final laps, and did not have enough time. But first time race winner in the OSCA Truck Series, Dennis Weeks in the 91, he burns it down on the front straightaway.
And he's going to burn it down, and congratulations to him. Yeah, he put himself in position, running second spot. He was the Weeks that was running in second before the crazy chaos ensued with 5 laps to go to create the final restarts. And there again, you check out your top 10 for heat number 2 of the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100. And we got some interviews here coming up here, Kenneth. And first off, we'll get the second place finisher in heat number 1, and that is the 18 truck of Keelan Belsha. We'll bring him into the booth. And great run, Belsha, in heat number 1. Didn't quite work out for you heat number 2. What were the big differences between the first and second heats?
I got shuffled back in the second heat. We were up there running top 5 for a while, but then tires started to fall off, so I was waiting for that caution to come out, and luckily the caution did come out, but I didn't get a very good restart, and then that shuffled me back, and I had nowhere to go in that wreck. But yeah, just had nowhere to go in that second heat, and that was a difference on how we couldn't get the win.
Yeah, and it looked like you were in shape to get that win in heat number 1. You know, you kind of seen you sizing up that 3 truck of Austin Beers, but just ran out of time. Did you think you had anything for him as you were coming to that checkered flag?
Well, if I could redo that last lap one more time, I probably would have stayed high in 3 and 4, but I didn't think I'd have enough to. I probably would have been closer if I held the top than rather if I cut back to his bumper on the bottom. But I don't know. If I could redo that, I'd probably hold top. Maybe I would have had a better shot. I don't know. I just didn't have the run off the corner to get up with him. Yeah, but that was a really fun race. He's a great guy to race with. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun to watch as well. Was the handling different? You know, we had the 1 p.m. start time in heat number 1, the 4 p.m. start time in heat number 2. Was it a little tighter, would you say, in heat number 2, or were the car or the trucks handling about the same?
Well, for me personally, I didn't really find a big difference in the handling, but I mean, it was a faster track in the second one with the cloud cover and stuff later in the day. It felt like a faster track than what it was in the first one, and that top was rolling when you were on fresh tires. So, you know.
Yeah, that was one thing we noticed up here in the booth. But Kenneth, do you have anything for Keelan?
Well, I mean, certainly a fantastic race in your first start in this series. I mean, considering the fact that this is your first time here, first time around this selection of drivers, and the fact that you were able to not only get positions, but battle for the race seed numerous times and actually take control of the race for a handful of laps. How did that feel about this race in your debut, and what this could mean for this series and your sim racing career moving forward?
I mean, it felt good to come out here with some new guys and get up there and lead some laps. I had fun. This is a great group of guys to race with. Love this league. Even on my first race, I really enjoyed myself here. This was a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to running more with these guys. But hopefully, sooner or later, maybe I can come out here and I can snag a win. Who knows?
Yeah, it'll be next week headed to Bristol. I guess even just tell us what you think heading into there if you rejoin us here in the OSCA Truck Series, and I guess second part of that question, any shout outs you want to do after that?
Well, as for Bristol, I have no idea, dude. I've had no luck there in my previous races, but I'll try to show up next week and see if I can do anything different. And thank everybody. Just got to thank Josh Duke, Glenn Bunger, and I was up there in a call with them, racing with them tonight. That was a lot of fun. I thank my mom for watching, and got to send a shout out to my friend. His stepmom got diagnosed with breast cancer the other day, so think about him.
Ooh, yeah. So yeah, prayers out for them. But yeah, good run here tonight in heat number 1. Sorry about heat number 2, but yeah, a lot of crazy action going on, and hopefully we'll catch you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Yep, thank you. And again, that was Keelan Belsha finishing second in heat number 2. Didn't have quite the luck in heat number 1. He finished second, and heat number 2 didn't quite have the luck. But we'll bring in now Austin Beers, winner of heat number 1. We'll bring him into the booth. And Austin, we've seen you ducking and diving and make a lot of aggressive moves. It worked out in heat number 1. And didn't work out too bad, but maybe a restart penalty kind of hampered you from maybe pulling off the sweep here tonight.
Yeah, we got to the lead in there in Heat 2, and I got stuck on the bottom. I was trying to run with my teammate Blake Barney there, and I didn't want to hang him out to dry. I could have got up a couple times, and then got back up to like 6 when that caution came out, and I accidentally sped on pit road, so that's put me back to 21st, and then that big wreck happened, and we got 4th, so it was a good race.
A good solid points night overall, but yeah, the short track kid here, usually you show your paralysis on the short tracks, you race short tracks in real life, but yeah, making those aggressive moves, and even with that front end damage, did you think that was even going to hamper you to get that heat number 1 victory?
I didn't really know that I had front end damage, to be honest. I thought I just tapped Vince. I didn't know I hit him that hard, but yeah, these tracks are really fun for me because you kind of just go balls to the wall, and that's what I like to do. So it was a fun race, and I'm glad to be a part of this league.
That's awesome. Kenneth, got anything for Austin?
Well, I mean, especially in that first race, I think that's where you shine the most. But even then, everything went chaotic in a lot of the fresh tire situation, but it was mostly around short runs with some yellows sprinkled in. How did that feel for you? Did that kind of amp up the nerves a little bit in the cockpit? Was there some of that extra focus that was needed, considering the fact that you were in that very large pack with a lot of room and a lot of drivers around you at the same time?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely nerve-wracking. I mean, under the cautions, I'm always a nervous wreck, whether it's real life or on iRacing. But when we're locked in, I'm in a rhythm, and even when we're 4-ride, I'm cool as can be. That's where I'm happy. So it was a fun race, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, it was a good race indeed. Again, getting a second victory here in the OSCA Truck Series. But before we send you off here, Austin, any shout-outs you want to give?
I gotta thank ID Racing. I wouldn't be racing without them. You guys put on a great show, and Vic Bloom for running the league. It's a really fun league.
Yeah, it's a fun league, and you guys put on a good show. And thank you, Austin, and go get him at Bristol. Short track, baby.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully we'll be good.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
And that was Austin Beers, winner of heat number 1 here tonight in the Shane DiMantova Does Designs 100. And now we'll go into your top 3 in heat number 2. And how about this? He had bad luck in heat number 1, getting involved in a wreck early. It's that 96 truck of Adam Tepe. And Adam, finally nice to see you finally catch a break and able to work your way up into the 3rd spot. How does it feel?
Feels great. Especially after the way I started that first race and decided to wreck myself on lap 2. But I'm happy to be here. I had to get some tips on how to get interviewed before jumping in here. So,
hey, you're doing great so far. I guess that's one thing I'll ask you. I asked Keelan Belsha if there was a big difference between heat number 1 and heat number 2 as far as the grip. He didn't notice a big difference. But I thought maybe at the 1 o'clock start time, maybe the track was a little slicker, and you kind of fell victim to that, like you said early on. But did you notice a big difference between heat number 1 and heat number 2 as far as how the truck handled?
I mean, Heat 2 felt better, but that might have been just me. But I'm more than happy to use the excuse of the first race being slick.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Yeah, that works. I'll allow it. I'll allow it. But Kenneth, you got anything for Adam?
Well, I mean, I think you kind of nailed it there. The two differences in the way the truck handled, but this comeback, I mean, some very good points here for you in the 96. And after what happened in that first race, I think this was pretty much the race where we saw what you could do out on the racetrack. How was that for you, knowing that you were competing a lot more, and especially how things fared in the long run, because we didn't really see that in the first race?
I mean, just as the season's gone on, I've started to feel better and better. Anyone who knows me knows I probably hop on iRacing once a week, and this is it. So I don't know. I'm just happy to finally get a good finish. It feels good to be up front and finally kind of showing like, yeah, I can run with these guys. I can hang.
Yeah, and hang you certainly did here tonight with an awesome third place finish. But Adam, next week we head to that Bull Ring, the great Coliseum of Bristol Motor Speedway. It's one where it's going to be hard to stay out of trouble. But if you can do that next week, how do you think you'll fare out?
Well, Bristol's my worst track, so I'm glad I can get a good finish before going there. But I mean, I'm just gonna go there, try not to get wrecked. I think that's about all you can do at Bristol anymore. So
a lot of times if you keep those fenders clean, you're able to get a good finish. And I know there's certain tracks. Bristol has always been kind of a thorn in my side too. But if you can keep it clean, you can be right up front there at the end, and hopefully you're able to do that. But before we send you off here, after this great finish in third spot, any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah. First thing being Vic for making me this awesome truck. I talked to him before the race, and I never actually really had a custom scheme before, and I always loved the old Jeff Gordon Pepsi schemes, and we kind of combined a few of our favorites and came up with this one. And so thanks to Vic, and thanks to all my friends, Hank, for racing with me every week and keeping me going, because man, there's been times I'm not feeling it, and they support me and get me in here every week. So thanks to everyone.
Yeah, awesome to hear. Yeah, keep you motivated, because hopefully your luck's going to be turning around here, and we'll be interviewing you more in the near future.
Man, I hope so.
Sounds good. Well, you have a good night, celebrate your third place finish, and hopefully we'll talk to you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And that was Adam Tepe, finisher in third in heat number 2. But up next, finishing in second spot, is a newcomer to the series at number 75 truck of Dylan Gooden. And Dylan, how does it feel first night out here to come home with the second place run?
Oh man, it's awesome. I had a lot of fun tonight. I was looking pretty good in that first race, and we got a little incident there at the end, and had to start in the back for that one. And we slowly just worked our way up and avoided all the wrecks and was in position there. It was a lot of fun.
Now, did it kind of feel almost like a Daytona Talladega-esque, when you're working your way back to the front, just trying to hit the right lines, drafting with the right people to work your way up? Or was it just kind of even hitting the right lines and just getting the good runs out of the corners and just kind of slowly, methodically working your way up?
Yeah, at the start of the run, it's like Daytona Talladega, except instead of the bottom, you really want to be on the high side so you can get that run off the corner. Because after, 5 to 10 laps, the trucks just get too tight. And if you're on the bottom, you're just going to go like a freight train to the back, like you don't have the draft. So you wanted to put yourself in a good spot when those tires started to wear or before that next caution. So you could, be in position there for the end. But it just came down to the pit strategy there at the end.
Yeah, and it seemed like 4 tires did come out king. I believe you did take 4 tires, correct? On
Yes.
the last pit stop. Yeah, it appeared, I think, only 3 cars stayed out and 1 did take 2 tires, and it didn't quite work out for them. But obviously, being a newcomer to the series here, are we expected to see you out here in a few more events to round out the season?
I'm hoping to, for sure. it just kind of worked out tonight. I had seen you guys a lot on Twitter. I have like Johnny Eckert. He's the one that got me into this series, and I've been seeing you guys post about it a lot. And I'm like, well, I want to get out and run. And tonight it worked out, and I'm gonna try to come back for sure because it was a lot of fun, and it's really fun to run well and finish second. And I mean, it was just I couldn't ask for a better start to the night.
It was good way to kick off your OSCA Truck Series career, and hopefully we'll see you out here more. But before we send you off here, Kenneth, do you have any questions here for Dylan?
Well, I think this was a big trot. 14th to 2nd. That was very big. And also what was very big was that crash that was out on the front straightaway. I think everybody was scrambling around to get around that. What was going through your mind while that was happening, and especially what you were seeing through your own eyes? Because you had a full front view of this entire wreck. How did that go in from your perspective?
Yeah, it was a really nice wreck avoidance there. I was like super pumped on the radio after it happened. So I saw someone like start to get a little sideways, and I was kind of on the top of a couple trucks, so I kind of lifted so I could kind of get down if I needed to. And then I saw them just all wrecking. So I went all the way down to the apron, and I had to get in the grass because they were just going everywhere. Then I came back onto the track after that first wave, and then they just kept wrecking ahead of me. So I'm like, oh no. So I slowed down, and some guys flew by me and got in the wreck, and then I had to go back down to the grass in the start-finish line. And by the end of it, we came out, we were 4th, and I was in a good position for that restart. And I was like, I got a real shot at this because the outside on the restart really works well, and I knew the couple of those guys had old tires. So that wreck was huge, and it was probably the whole reason I got second for sure.
Yeah, and sometimes it's good to be lucky and good, and certainly tonight you were able to do so in heat number 2. But before we send you off here, Dylan, any shout-outs you want to give?
Shout out to Castle Motors, my car owner, Landon Castle, your friend in the car business, and my girlfriend, Addie, who let me race tonight with no complaints.
Hey, that's always a good thing. But thanks for joining us up here in the booth, Dylan, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again in the near future here on the KBRN Network.
All right, I hope so, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Dylan Gooden, finisher in second place in heat number 2. And now the man of the hour, another newcomer to the series, Dennis Weeks. He was able to put himself in position, stay out of the wrecks, and able to finish with a victory here in heat number 2. Dennis, how does it feel to be in victory lane?
Oh, man, it's always fun to win them.
Heck yeah, it was. But with 5 laps to go, you seen the 11 truck just kind of looked like he was in control of the event. But when that caution came out, did you think you had a shot to go for that victory?
You always have a shot, especially when people stay out. It's just who gets to avoid the people on old tires. And unfortunately, he didn't make it through, and it worked out for me.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to take that advantage, and again, a great restart that you had on that last restart as well. You got ahead of the pack, and it did look like Dylan was getting a little bit of a run on you on that last lap. Were you a little bit nervous that maybe he was going to be able to pull alongside you and try to snag that victory away from you?
I was coming down the backstretch, but he didn't chase me down to the bottom, so I figured I had just enough gap. If it would have went one more, though, he definitely would have made a big run on me.
Yeah, and able to hold him off and get that win in heat number 2. But Kenneth, do you have anything for Dennis?
Well, I mean, since you were one of the ones that ran in both of these races, I think you could easily tell the difference. I mean, right at the beginning to end of the first race, lots of yellows kind of slowed you guys down a little bit. Then this second one comes around, big wreck happens, but you do get a long green flag run all the way to the end for the most part. How did that rhythm change for you over the course of the night comparative to the first race and now in this second race where you were able to grab the win?
The first race, I tried to go to the back, start up front because they were racing so aggressively. So I was like, all right, I'll move to the back, and then just started stringing out. So I was like, all right, well, I guess we're gonna have to go forward. And I prefer the second race obviously over the first race. So I was glad to see a long green run, even though I don't think I had anything for the 11 there at the end. But when that caution came out, I was like, it's fair game now.
Yeah, game on it was, and able to pull off a victory here. But Dennis, before we send you off and let you celebrate your victory here tonight, any shout-outs you want to give out there?
My buddy Johnny Eckert, told me to come join this league, and thanks for Vic for letting me in for this week, and hopefully I can make some more and run up front.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you right here next week at Bristol Motor Speedway. Again, Dennis, congratulations on the victory. And, yeah, go have fun. Go celebrate. All right. That was Dennis Weeks, winner of heat number 2. And, yeah, Kenneth, wild night here tonight. We've seen a little bit of everything. We've seen all the way up to 4 wide to the field getting spread out. But at the end of the day, we have first-time winner. We have Austin Beers collecting his second win. It's been a pretty wild one, and it should be wild again next week when we head to the Just Keep Your Head 100 at Bristol. As you see the schedule, yeah, next week will be April 1st right here on KBRN. You'll see them go to the bull ring of the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway for the Just Keep Your Head 100. And Kenneth, any final thoughts here tonight?
Well, I think it was certainly a lot of fun. I saw the different paces, and I think the different rhythm of having those yellows in that first race comparative to the actual longer green flag runs that stretched in that second one. The fantastic battles, the big wide, 3 wide, 4 wide racing for position. I think that was a lot of fun to watch, but I think we got to hamper it once more down, because if the chaos here at Michigan showed you anything, I think Bristol will be even a larger scale, because Bristol's a smaller track. Things get really packed in tight, and especially since the fact that we made our first break from a short track stint in a little while. We go back to another short track, but I mean, the only thing I'm keeping my eye on is now, Mike, is the playoffs. Points are now starting to get quick. Things are starting to get faster through this season. We're already progressing quickly through the season already. We've already gone through the halfway point, and now it's the final 2 or so races before we get to the playoffs and start to get serious to crown a champion. So it's as much fun as we've had. Remember, there's still a tight points battle at the Bay here.
Interesting. Gerald Campbell did not make it tonight, so Vincent Isabella should have gained quite a bit of points going into Bristol next week, and we'll shake out how the points are next week here on KBRN before we start the Just Keep Your Head 100. Again, that'll be Thursday, April 1st, right here on the KBRN network. But also, don't forget, Friday, March 26th at 7:25 Eastern Time is going to be the CRL Cup Series at Pocono. You can check that out right here on KBRN. But with that, for Vic Bloom and Dallas Mahan at the OSCA Truck Series, and for Charlie Baier at the KBRN Network, and for my colleague here in the booth, Kenneth Bueno, I'm Mike Goodman. Thank you all for watching tonight's broadcast here from Michigan International Speedway, and we look forward to seeing you next Thursday night right back here at KBRN Network for the Just Keep Your Head 100 at the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway. Have a good night.